Welcome to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the township, the village, you know, those government entities that make laws, regulations, and ordinances that affect you out there.
And whether you live in the village of Oxford, the village of Leonard, Oxford Township, or Addison Township, these are the people that, you elected, and the commissions and the committees that make decisions that directly affect you, whether you attended that meeting or not. And that's why we're here.
Pretty much, except there's some other things that occur. One of us, for example, makes rumors.
And one of us confirms them.
And the other thing we look for is humor. And
Humor.
You folks would never believe that these government meetings would ever have any humor.
Sometimes you go to the top, and sometimes you go to the bottom.
Yep, you scrape it right off the top. Sometimes you don't have to very easily. It just bubbles as high as you can see. And if you don't attend the meetings, like he's indicated, get prepared for the humor, folks.
You betcha.
So let's talk about the Oxford Township Planning Commission. We've got two meetings, actually one meeting, and the other one we want to talk about an organization, a couple of organizations that are quite beneficial to the township and to the village, you folks out there. That would be the DDA.
Oh, I thought you meant the soup kitchen.
That would be another one. Well, of course, you
well.
would know a lot about that, probably.
No, that's
but,
true.
Okay. Anyway, so let's talk about the Oxford Township Planning Commission meeting, first of all. Todd Bell is the chairperson.
Yes, he
and
is.
I've always said, if you want to watch a meeting in action with somebody who's very knowledgeable in leading a meeting, that would be Todd Bell.
Yeah, he never lets it get out of control.
No. And very knowledgeable, very capable of doing it. Other people on that board, of course, is Jack Curtis, Ed Hunwick, who also serves on the Communications Commission, if I'm not mistaken.
And Kelly Rossner?
Kelly Rossner, Meyer, and Mike Spiz, who's the county.
Yeah. I hear Callie's running for the Board of Education, too.
She is. I think you folks will learn more about her background and others that are running on the Board of Education coming up, probably in the Leader newspaper first.
First.
We might beat them.
That's right. We have a tendency to do that.
Oh, no. We actually work in unison. Leader, pretty good people over there. You Leader people?
Well, it just depends who leads first.
Yeah, you're right. So anyway, another person on that board is Berger. And he was absent, though.
What's his first name?
You know,
Tom?
I'm trying to think. Tom Berger.
Okay.
Yep. Did you say Tom?
Yeah, he confirms anything I say.
Not everything, folks. This is part of the humor, too. You have to listen to this guy. Because he just brought up Tom. He was thinking actually Fred or Jack or, you know, he thought I would agree. But Tom, I know Tom Berger.
I know you're not Fred or Jack, Tom.
All right. So anyway, so first thing they did is the Pledge of Allegiance. Yep. And of course they had to approve the agenda. Did do that also. And then the minutes for August, let me see, August 11th was the last time they had a meeting. And since they get the information in advance, it was readily approved. Public comments, not scheduled on the agenda.
Wasn't.
It was.
Did they comment anyhow?
Well, they would if they could, but they weren't there. Nobody raised their hand. Nobody shuffled forward to do it. So yeah. It happens quite often, though.
That's no fun.
You folks don't be afraid to speak up if you have something to say. That's the time to say it. Maybe there's other times to say it, but this would be a good time to say it.
Just remember, you're on television.
Yes, you are. Anyhow, they said let's talk about some individuals that want to speak. They raised their hand in the back and they said, well, we actually have some items. Wilbur Hutchins is one, and Wilbur owns some property in the northeastern quadrant where they're thinking about opening the business for House of Providence. Remember we talked about that before?
House of Providence.
Yeah, that's the 218-acre proposal to have, I don't know, call orphans or whatever, you know, that aren't adopted children. We talked about that before.
We did.
I see blank, blank, blank. You don't recall. Okay, well.
I know nothing.
Take a note. Okay.
So, 218 acres?
Yeah, 218 acres. Used to be the old Hunters Club over there.
Oh, the Oakland
Yeah.
Oakland Congress, Oakland Sportsman's Congress.
Sportsman's Congress, yeah.
Oh,
Now
yeah.
you know where it's at.
Yeah, I do, off of Oakwood Road.
Do you recall us talking about it before?
Not well.
Well,
That is to say you didn't talk about it well.
well, we are going to talk
You never
about
made
it.
a big impression. That was
Right. So anyway, this individual, who was Wilbur Hutchins, came forward and he said he objected to it that there's going to be roughly about 200 children, on 3 ranch-style homes built in that particular piece of property.
Are these kids also going to be part of the Oxford school system?
I believe they will be part of the school system.
Okay, so there's signage and everything that has to go up then.
There is signage, but you know what? That's a good rumor that we could spread, because you look for, what is the one over here, Youth?
Crossroads
Crossroads
for
for
Youth.
Youth. Now, they have their own
I
educational...
do remember some things,
Yeah, but they do have educational program there, but I think it's tied into the Oxford school system, is it not?
Actually, it used to be called Camp Oakland, and I know when I went to Oxford's high school many years ago.
You rode a dinosaur to school.
They were integrated. They were integrated into Oxford High School at that time, but I don't know what the situation is now.
So they've been here a long time.
Absolutely.
Well, I understand that this facility is going to be very similar, so that's why the objection.
But is it a private institution or what?
It is private, but it's governed by the state in terms of regulation.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure.
And somehow, the township has to coordinate the effort with the guidelines being from the state of Michigan. In other words, they're rather apprehensive about it from a township standpoint, and either approving or not approving this.
They being?
The representatives from the township.
Oh, the Planning Commission.
Yeah, the Planning Commission. They want to see all of the facts. In other words, what state regulations and laws govern this particular facility that override the township requirements and what the people want.
Are they any different than Crossroads for Youth?
Probably would be pretty much the same standard requirements.
Or is it a younger group of kids, or what?
I think up to 18, 19 years old, maybe.
Okay, so it's basically the same age range.
Pretty much the same thing. And the issue that most people are concerned with here too is, and they voice this, is that same as Crossroads for Youth, they have a difficult time keeping those critters in there. They keep coming out once in a while. Police department are called frequently because of fights, that kind of thing that occur.
I'm sure.
They have a great staff over there that attempt to set these kids in the right direction.
So it's 218 kids. Do they say how many staff they have?
They haven't talked about that part of it at all. I assume that state regulations require, so much staff per individual that they have staying. So anyway, that was the first person that spoke. Second one was Barbara Blahnik, and she lives on Barber Road, and she complained too. That's close to the road, where this thing is located.
Yeah, it's up the road a piece.
Yeah, and she complained that area is zoned rural agricultural, and should not be a business located in there.
Yeah,
and this would be considered a business.
And I think down the road a piece is where one of the Oxford Parks is.
It is, I believe. The other thing too is a gentleman stood up, and his name is Jim Eunice, I believe it is. And he's a property owner, and he said, if you don't believe that this is a commercial piece of property, he said you need to check and see how much these new owners, which last name is Dunn, make per child from the state of Michigan. He said you'll be shocked in terms of the financial support from the state of Michigan.
Is it qualify kind of like a hybrid foster home of sorts?
It is, exactly that. It is a foster home.
Well.
But the idea is to get these kids out into the country and have them enjoy the fresh air and the things that come with being in the country. But they're, in essence, children that have been unadoptable up to this point, and for whatever reason. A lot of them come from broken homes, that kind of thing, abused.
But are they direct from broken homes or direct from another facility or what?
It could be both, or, it's hard to say.
Wasn't sure.
I'm sure they screen them before they bring them in, but anyway, they haven't reached that point. And
what happened to the Oakland Sportsman's Congress? They dissolved or moved somewhere else? What?
It dissolved. I don't believe they moved elsewhere. They need a special use permit in order to get this in place in the township, and that's the big thing in question. And we'll talk about that when we come back, right after this.
218 acres.
218 acres.
Oxford Orient Fish helps provide emergency aid to the people of Oxford, Ligorian, Addison, and Oakland Townships. One of the only self-served food banks in the state, Oxford Orient Fish provides once-a-month food supplies based on the size of the family. To donate, volunteer, or to find out more, call Oxford Orient Fish at 248-628-3933 or go to their website, oxfordorientfish.org. Oxford Orient Fish, neighbors helping neighbors.
Hi, I'm Elgin Nichols,
And I'm Dave Kenny.
and we're back here again on Minutes by Minute, and we're talking about Oxford Township Planning Commission meeting.
That was almost dead air.
It was almost, you would know a thing or two about that, wouldn't you? Okay, anyway, that's something that we'll discuss some other time, what dead air is.
It was you last week.
I'm still alive. You call it live air. I'm still running. Okay. So anyway, so we were talking about the property out there, 212 acres, I believe it is. Used to be the old Hunters Club.
Okay, with a name like Providence, is it religiously affiliated?
I couldn't tell you if that's the case. I do know that there's another operation similar to it out of Detroit.
Okay.
So anyway, commissioners' comments. Kelly Rossner, she said, well, she doesn't know if it's going to meet special use capabilities as defined. And the question came up, Todd Bell says, well, is it covered under foster homes under the state of Michigan?
Well, they have a planner there, don't they?
They do have a planner, and that funny you would mention that.
I did.
You segued into that one pretty good. The planner is Brian Opperman, and by the way, he's going to be leaving.
Oh,
He's going to be replaced
within the same company?
within the same company.
Oh, okay.
So they'll continue, but they'll have a new representative.
Okay.
But anyway, back to this. Todd Bell said he would like to get more information from the state of Michigan in terms of guidelines. This guy is pretty sharp.
Did the planner have anything to say?
The planner said he agreed that
With-
that should be done
Okay.
with Todd Bell. And he wants to know what's governed by the state and what is not. So it makes sense before you can
Sure.
make any motion or move
Look
forward.
before you leap.
Yep, and he's that kind of a guy. Pretty sharp. New business. Well, as far as new business is concerned, they needed to amend a final site plan, supposedly, for Legacy Center, which would be Christian Mills. And I don't know if you've seen the leader out there, folks, but there's been a
final
controversy.
site plan?
Yep.
That thing's been running full bore
Yep.
for months.
And here's the thing.
What do you mean a final site
Well,
plan?
that's it. It's actually it's kind of like
I know there's a signage issue, but I don't know if that was it. or
Oh,
not.
it's kind of like a puzzle with pieces missing. You
Oh.
can't have a final site plan unless all the pieces fit, right?
Oh, well.
And Todd Bell pointed this out. And he says, by the way, he said under the original plan requested, submittal of the final site plan was required in order to move further. And he said, you know, that was stated at the last time you were before this board. Do you remember this,
Which was when?
Mr. Bell?
Which was when?
It was, I don't know what the date was. But
I mean, was it not last week?
No,
not last
about a month
month?
ago.
About a month ago. Okay.
Maybe 2 months ago. So anyway, so he said, Christian Mills, he says, yeah, he said, I recall that. He says, well, he said, I don't have anything in my packet showing anything. He says, I see you have parking lot specifications, but you don't have curbing for the parking lot. Why do you not have curbing? He said, that's a safety issue. He said, otherwise people are going to run up over the lawn and they're going to have accidents. He said, that's a requirement from the ordinances in the township. And he said, so that needs to be looked at. He says, lighting. He said, you haven't provided a plan for lighting. You know, you have provided some lighting for the parking area, but you don't give any elevations on it at all.
So was this part of a phased buildup?
Yeah.
Or
It-
this is like phase 3 or phase 4
This
of
should
the whole
have been
thing?
done by now.
Oh,
With the
okay.
way the Planning Commission operates, they sit down with the developer, which they did many months ago, and said, this is what we want to see, and these are conditions that you're going to have to meet. And the next time you come before us, if you bring a completed plan, more likely you'll get approved. Well, the problem is that not the information has been sent to the township. Like Todd Bell says, I don't have any of this stuff in my packet. He says, no way are you in a position to get final approval on this thing, let alone the signage. And Kelly Rossner said, well, my concern is on the signage is that there's no elevations. You don't know what the height of the signs are, where they're located, as far as distance between each other and so forth. So those elevations have to be made, and it's a requirement, pre-requirement, in order to come forward.
I thought one
None
of the
of that.
issues, though, was this, not so much a signage off of 24, but the signage that was on the building.
Well, that's part of it, the whole building concept. Those signs were put on without agreement from the sign commission or committee. And so therefore, now, after the fact, the signs are there. The only recourse he has at this point is either to wipe off the signs
No.
or to go before the ZBA.
They're actually quite artistic.
Yeah, they are. And it's pretty well done, actually. And they probably would have been approved should he, you know, it would not have.
Well, it's not like it's not like signage for like one business. He's got multiple concessions within that building.
He
They all
does.
need to have some form of advertising that they're there.
Absolutely. But what I discovered, and what watching, the Planning Commission in action, is that really Mr. Mills, Christian Mills, relied on people within his organization to provide this information for the township. And someone fell through with this.
Okay.
And actually, Christian Mills was
I'm sure
very
when he gets back.
embarrassed.
I'm sure when he gets back to the office, words will be said.
I would think he would, because he was very embarrassed to be put on the spot.
Yeah, yep.
And even the representative he had from his office really said, well, that information was sent to you. Todd Bell says, look, he said, if that information was sent to us, he said, we would have got it. He said, the lady that handles this, she is very reliable, doesn't make those kind of mistakes, and if it's not in the packet,
Hey, you're
it
getting
wasn't
pretty
sent.
excited about this.
Yeah, but I'm telling you how, I just tried to explain to you what their position was on this, and I agree. And of course, Christian Mills, he agreed too. He said, well, you're right, we don't have all the information for you
Right.
for this C2 zoning. And he said one other thing, he said that you don't have a berm, you don't have any of the landscaping set up, for protect the neighbors that you have against sounds, that kind of thing. And also, do you know the situation on MDOT for the front of the building? The MDOT will not allow you to have parking space in that. Is that what you discovered? And Christian Mills said, yes. He said, we discovered that. He said, well, then you do know that that's part of the parking thing. Now, the other thing is, he said, you have here 114, let me see, how many spots? 450 spots designated for the parking area. He said, according to ordinance, he says, you need for one spot for every 100 feet of space the building houses. He said, which would require 1,000 to 1,500
For what?
reserved parking spots for the parking lot. He said, you've only put in 450. He said, I would like to know what your formula was for 450. And so, of course, he's caught, it's based on the people we have. They're going to use the building plus the employees.
I'd like to be a
Well,
fly
Todd
on the
Bell
wall for
says-
that meeting when he gets back to the office.
Well, Todd Bell, then he says, well, I don't have any objections about lesser amount, but he said, you need to justify it. He said, you just can't say 450 and not have a reason, behind it. He said, I'm not saying that we wouldn't approve it. He said, but you got to have full justification for it.
Well, that's
So-
the old thing.
Yeah.
Document, document, document.
Right. So when people look at this from the outside, they might say, well, the township was out to get Christian Mills. That is not the case. If everybody was to do things willy-nilly, and get approved, well, go
Is that a
stick it to
legal
the
term?
ordinances. Willy-nilly? It should be. and without proper approval, from the township, in accordance with the ordinances, things will be helter-skelter all over the,
Helter-skelter,
Township.
willy-nilly, let's go.
yeah, that's willy-nilly right out of this one. I'm Elgin Nichols. We'll be back right after this.
Canine Stray Rescue does just that.
Some heat in there.
Yeah, watch that curveball now. The pitcher's way ahead. And let him
Hey Leonard, you're watching OCTV.
And I'm Dave Kennedy.
And we are here talking about the Oxford Township Planning Commission meeting. And it was really lively. And the second part of this was that we were just talking about Christian Mills, and he said, well, I will make sure you get all the information you need for the packet and the go-around, and we will make sure that the site plan is up to date.
And I will have my people call your people.
And I'm pretty sure he will be talking to his people
Right.
for the way it went down. So anyway, I think he'll do the right thing here. The second plan that came before the board was the preliminary final site plan for a building to be constructed at the Seymour Lake Park. You know, it's going to be.
That's for the
yeah.
Parks and Rec Department.
Right, construct a maintenance building.
And
the
is this just the maintenance building,
Yeah.
or was it also going to be part of a senior center
Well,
facility?
eventually it will be, but this is for the maintenance building, phase one.
Okay.
50 by 100 foot.
Back with the
size
phases
building.
again.
Yep.
Okay.
And they're going to have a shed, a storage shed built also on the property.
Phase 1.2.
And anybody who knows Ron Davis and knows also his partner in crime here, Jeff Kinnis, that they have dotted all their I's, crossed all their T's, and long ago put together a final site plan requirement.
Yeah, they're very good at that.
Yep. And everything was detailed. One thing that Ron Davis was concerned with, and that is the safety path, that they forego a safety path requirement, and although every site plan has to have in its planning a safety path, even if it's used or not. Now the safety path committee are the ones.
AKA sidewalk.
Right. That's an extra wide sidewalk. But the safety path committee is the one that would decide if they need to do it or not. Now normally if you don't do the safety path, you have to pay a certain fee, for not using it.
That
until it's
safety
put in.
path may be there in front of that property, but at the end of that property, if no one else has built anything on either side, what?
You got it.
There's nothing there.
Yeah, and here's what Ron Davis said. He said, if you have me put in a safety path, it's going to go nowhere. There's nothing there. So Jack Curtis, he suggested, well, maybe this is something that should be set aside, for the
For
safety
later
path
consideration when your neighbor moves in.
committee. Yeah, you're right. The safety path committee will decide the issue here. So anyway, they said, well, as far as the parking lot is concerned, it's going to be gravel, so we don't have to worry about parking lines and things like that. So that was pretty much it, and it was approved. So he can go forward, and he says, well, when can I start? And he said, Todd says, you can start Monday morning, first thing. He said, you can start digging. He says, okay. He says, I'm all for it. So they're ready to go.
The I's were dotted and the T's were crossed, and off they went
Off they went.
into the horizon.
Right. Let me see. They asked for commissioners' comments on the end, any reports. And Kelly Rossner-Meyer, she mentioned that the ZBA legacy plan was tabled, that there was no building elevations or actual signs in terms of what they were going to put there, that none of the information was available to the ZBA, so they tabled it until the information could be brought forward. Sound familiar? It does.
Deja vu.
Deja vu. And so then the other issue was Jack Curtis, who talked about being on the planning commission for the village, and that they had approved a preliminary plan, site plan, I think it was a final site plan, for the development for Dave Weckel on Burdick Street, West Burdick.
One building
East
or
Burdick,
all three?
East Burdick. It's in, all three are anticipated, and again, it's in phases, A, B, and C, and it's all within the plan.
Not 1, 2, and 3?
Nope, not 1, 2, and 3. Decided to get a little different.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about something else at this time. I think that pretty much covers the Planning Commission. Let's talk about the DDA, Downtown Development Authority, and a lot of you folks don't really know what the Downtown Development Authority does.
Right.
And also, I want to
Also ties into the Economic Development Authority
For the
or
township.
committee for the township. Yeah.
It does, and Jack Curtis leads that group, and we'll talk more about that when we get along in this thing. Downtown Development, Pete Schultz is the chairman. Of course, Joe Frost is the executive director. Their website is downtownoxford.org. That's downtownoxford.org, and their phone number is 248-770-8587.
And it just lit up like a Christmas tree.
It did. But anyway, the reason why I give you this information is because they have all kinds of programs for you. If you're a existing business or you're a new business and want to start, They have a program called Main Street, Oakland County program, and it gives access to services, allowing new businesses to get a good takeoff start. And in the Main Street program, they have consultants, which if you're starting out a business, you want to know what's going on within the community and surrounding area. Financial programming assistance, good idea. Know where your financial packaging is at.
Now, does this
and they can help
operate
you.
within the auspices of the Downtown Development
It
Authority,
is.
or is it tie into Oakland County?
It ties
also?
into both.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And but the Downtown Development Authority can get you involved in this and get
Absolutely.
you started. One-step shop for businesses. Starting a business? Question mark. Then they'll tell you how to begin it. They say business growth to the next level. If you're a business that's in operation now and you want to go to the next step, they'll tell you what you need to do there, both
So
financially
that
and
when you go to the
yeah,
Planning Commission, you will have those T's
you will
crossed
have
and
that
I's dotted,
information
and they'll
all
say,
set. Right, but you want to work real close with the DDA. A lot of people don't understand that the Downtown Development Authority, they're there for your assistance. And they have the connections, financial connections and so forth for you to make your business successful.
that's right.
And so you want to get in touch with them. Would like access to business counselors? Well, they have business counselors that can give you direction. Management training? Yes, they can train you on how to operate and how to handle people and how to maintain your financials, you know, P&Ls and so forth. You know that.
Is
part
it
of
all free?
It's all free, pretty much.
Ooh.
So there's some things, depending on what degree you go to, might be a little cost to it, but not much.
A tip.
Yeah, very inexpensive compared to getting out there floundering around trying to figure it out yourself.
Absolutely.
These are experts that are business people, bankers,
They can
accountants.
give you a very structured approach to starting
do.
up your business.
Yep, and not only that, but it gives you the connections, you know, that you need, both locally and statewide or within the township. So, the financial counseling, accounting, for example, a lot of businesses go in and they say, well, we're going to open the doors and people are going to come here in droves. It don't quite work that way. And even if they did come, how do you maintain the records? What kind of records are required by the state? What kind of records are required by the township and the village?
They do require one or two, don't they?
They do, and you better know this part of it because before you know it, if you don't have a good handle on the financial, can you see the train rolling out of the station?
Not to mention the human resource management aspect of it.
Right, and when you understand that most businesses, startups, don't last, you know, over a year.
Oh, right. What's the old standard? For the first year, you almost expect to operate at a loss until you actually build a business up.
And you folks don't want that attitude out there. Just forget what he just said. You want to operate in a
Oh, you
profit
do.
any way you can.
No, it's true.
It is. But anyway, so there's a lot of neat things going on, be it manufacturing, human resources. DDA, Downtown Development, and Oxford can help you with your needs. And the other one, of course, is the Economic Development Authority in the township. That person is Jack Curtis, who leads that as chair. And the phone number for that contact is 248-628-9787.
Isn't that your house?
Economic Development. Could be. If they call me, I'll get you connected. Anyway, that's going on. Do know that these people are here to help you and they want you to be successful. What's coming up?
Well, we do have meetings, and most of them are in September,
Ah,
which is just a day away, or
Fall.
now. On 9/6 at 7 o'clock, the Village of Oxford Planning Commission will be meeting again, and at 9/8 at 7 o'clock, Oxford Township Planning Commission, and at 6 o'clock that same day, the Addison Township Zoning Board of Appeals, and on 9/12 at 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township ZBA Zoning Board of Appeals. You know, check on that one because sometimes they cancel the meeting. And at 7:30, the Addison Township Park Committee, your favorite.
yes.
And on 9/13 at 6 o'clock, the Addison Township Planning Commission, and at 6:30 that same day, Village of Oxford Council, and at 6:30, the Oxford Board of Education will be meeting at the Oxford High School this time.
Ah, this is Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kinney.
We'll catch you right here next time.